All right, so I'm Rob Jackson. I'm a professor at Auburn University, and this presentation is a little different. I wanted to provide an update on the Tribology and Lubrication Science minor at Auburn University. And this is because of everything that's going on these days with the pandemic, and usually we have an on-campus symposium and career fair that we were not able to have this year. So kind of response to that, decided to put a little video together with some slides describing what we're up to. And also, as well as that, I just thought I'd give a background of tribology and also the minor and the academics of the minor. So if you don't know what tribology is, it comes from this Greek word tribos, which is for rubbing. And it's really when any two surfaces come together and contact. And there could be a lubricant in between them, or it could just be air, it could be dry contact. So it's a pretty broad area, but basically friction, wear, these are the kind of things that we talk about when we talk about tribology. And it's critically important for every industry. Every industry that I've talked to, there's some aspect that depends on this. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that at the end of this seminar, I'm going to talk about another webinar that we're going to have in the new year in 2021. And the first one is going to be on the tribology of the International Space Station. So, stay tuned through all this, and I'll let you know more about those details later. Yeah, tribology is everywhere. It's in space, but it's also in our everyday lives. It's in power generation. It's in which powers, our cell phones, but not just that. It's in the screen protection on the cell phones, the scratch resistance. People or engineers are designing those screens so that they don't fail and don't crack, and that they're wear resistant as much as possible. The connectors used to charge your phone or other electronic devices, those are all tribology parts, and someone's designing that to make sure they're reliable as much as possible. And when you manufacture these items, there's a lot of tribology in polishing the surfaces, machining them, making the shapes. So a lot of tribology is in our everyday lives and things we use that we don't realize. There's a picture of the machining. But if you think about where that power comes from, that power is not just cell phones, but so many different things in our lives right now. It can come from a lot of these different areas. Could come from a nuclear power plant, a coal plant, a hydro plant, wind power. All these things have moving parts in them. Turbines, gears, bearings, all those moving parts have to worry about friction and wear in tribology. And so that's a major issue. In wind turbines, it was a major issue when we first started really using wind turbines on a large scale. They had to overcome some issues in the gears and the bearings on these large turbines. And there's other sources of power, and maybe it's not as obvious that the tribology is an issue there, but solar panels, there are tribology issues, making the surfaces wear resistant. Also the connectors used to put these panels together, those are tribological components. Also, there's other components like for coal plants, we're trying to reduce the emissions. They make these large tanks called scrubbers that remove the dangerous gases that go in the atmosphere. And there's a lot of moving parts in there, and they have problems with friction and wear, so they have to design for that when they're creating these large objects, machines. So tribology really is an integral part of sustainability because it improves the efficiency and also improves how long these items survive for. As far as efficiency, the DOE does reports on where all the energy we produce, how it's spent. And you can look through all this, we can look in detail, but the biggest takeaway here is a very large portion of this energy is rejected or lost. And a significant part of that is due to friction, okay? You might have heat loss. Some of that heat loss is from friction. And so if we can reduce friction, we can make better use of the energy we produce. These are some sample images of the many different industries that use friction or have to consider friction and wear. You can look on the upper left side, that's a hard disk drive. Those are used widely to store information. And there's a read-write head on there that is basically a sliding surface bearing that works based on tribology. But there's electrical connectors on here, gears, bearings, a joint, hip joint, so articular joints, replacement joints for the body. Those are tribological components as well. So here's some good numbers for you. So people have done analysis of how much of that energy is lost to friction, and it's a quarter to a third. I've heard sometimes a little more, but that's a large portion of the energy we produce is just lost to friction. It's been estimated 70% of the failures are due to surface deterioration. So that's wear, material wear, damage, could be corrosion, but corrosion is also closely tied to tribology. And some estimate that 7% of the gross domestic product is spent on friction, wear, and lubrication. And I think it's a large number because you think about how many things wear out. Your shoes, tires, brakes in your car. A lot of things, when they fail, they just wear out. And so all those things, if you can make them wear better and also look at friction loss and things, a huge amount of resources and money goes into this area. All right, so why am I talking about this and why do we have this minor at Auburn University? There is a major issue right now with finding new employees for this field. That's the number one concern based on a poll the Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers did with people or companies who might employ people in this area. They have a hard time finding anybody who has experience in this area or even has an education in this area. And it's a global issue. It's not just in the United States, this is across the globe. Every country has concerns about this. So some people from industry came to us a few years ago. I'll tell you more about that story in a little bit. And we thought, well, maybe we could help address this issue. So there are other engineering university or engineering-focused universities that have programs in tribology, but most of the time they're focused on research. They might have some undergraduate electives, but at the undergraduate level, there is really a lack in education. So we created an intensive minor in tribology to try to provide more graduates with a background in this area. And we believe, if we're successful, then this will probably spread to other educational institutes and universities. In general, graduates from universities receive very little exposure to tribology. If they're a mechanical engineer, they might take machine design, which has a few topics in it, but sometimes that's not always covered. But in large, this has gone unaddressed, so we're trying to make a change here. And it's going to have a large benefit in industry. As more people get educated in tribology and go in industry, that'll help our industry increase their efficiency, make their machines last longer. It could have a large monetary impact as well. So currently, we're the only undergraduate tribology minor in the United States that we know of. Hopefully that changes at some point. and maybe some other universities will create similar programs. Now, there are other programs at the universities with electives right now, and that's good too. So I don't want to forget about them as well. All right, so if you've kind of gone off and don't listen to what I'm saying, we're going to try to bring you back now with a little story that I think's kind of interesting. If you're an Auburn grad, you might have heard this story already. It's an older story, but back at the turn of the century, Auburn University used to play Georgia Tech in Atlanta very regularly. And back then, people got around by trains. And so the story goes that from Atlanta, the Georgia Tech team and the fans as well were coming down to Auburn in Alabama. And if you don't know, it's not far apart. It's about an hour and a half away from each other driving nowadays. It's probably a little farther then. But the Auburn students came out in the middle of the night and they put grease on the rails. This is how the story goes, at least. And then when the train came into the station, that's a picture of the actual train station there. The train put the brakes on it, could not stop. And they say it went halfway to Lochapoka, the next town down the rail line. And so they went on to play the game the next day. They say that the players were tired, and Auburn went on to win the game. They started having some parades, and that's shown there to remember this event. So called the Rec Tech Parade. That's a picture there. All right. So yeah, if you figured it out now, that AU in the southeast picture of the United States there, that's where Auburn University is located. If you've not heard of us before, we're the major engineering school in Alabama. And this Interstate 85 ties us to Atlanta. And if you look now, there's a growing industry along here called the Southern Automotive Corridor. There's a lot of manufacturing of automobiles and automobile parts and suppliers and steel all along this corridor. And that's kind of a more recent change. In the past has been more agriculture and textiles. But now it's becoming more about this automotive manufacturing. So Auburn University was established in 1856. It's carries this torch of a land, sea, and space grant university. It's a land grant university. It's located in Eastern Alabama, and it's the premier technical university in the state. It was actually called Alabama Polytechnic University until 1960, when it changed officially to Auburn University. The town's always been named that, and many people referred it to as that, but it was officially changed in 1960. Within the university, the largest academic program is the Samuel Ginn College of Engineering. And it produces more 1/3 of Alabama's engineering graduates. There's 11 different undergraduate and graduate programs, over 5,000 undergraduate students and over 1,000 grad students. Here's some numbers about the entire university. We now have over 30,000 students at the university, over 1,300 faculty, and over 5,000 total personnel. And there's many different programs also other than engineering, but engineering is a major part of Auburn University. And that's recognized. A good portion of the campus is dedicated to engineering and also science and math. All right, so the story about the minor, going to more in the detailed history. Way back in 2009, I met Parker Sizemore and Ralph Deere, and they're both actually alumni of Auburn University, but also involved in the tribology industry. We met at this STL annual meeting in Orlando, and they wanted to try to get something new going on at Auburn in tribology. We talked about some of the same issues I've discussed here about education. And so we decided this Tribology Minor concept was a good idea. So we started to pursue it. We had to put a plan together. Getting academic approval is a major process at a university. It took about 2 years because it has to be approved at the different levels of the university, the department, the colleges, and also at the state level. So, and it was approved finally in 2012. And the first semester we offered it was fall 2012. Ralph Beard unfortunately passed away several years ago, and that loss has been felt greatly by us at the university. So we set up a fund for excellence, which funds scholarships and also research opportunities at the university for students in the minor. So if you donate toward the minor, part of those funds could go to this fund for excellence. He was a good friend, and we always will remember that, you know, he helped make the minor possible at the university. Last year, we hired a new faculty who also specializes in tribology, which, you know, makes us one of the few universities that has several faculty in the area. He came from the University of Florida. It's Dr. Kyle Schultze. He focuses on biotribology and biologically inspired materials, and also 3D printing of biological materials, which is a unique and growing field. So if you have interest in these areas, I encourage you to contact him. So he'll be teaching courses and also performing research. We also have a Tribology Minor Industrial Advisory Board. So the board is there to help keep us connected with industry. They help you know, communicate with our students what the industry is looking at and what they're interested in. You know, they provide us feedback about our academic programs and if they're addressing their needs properly. And they have a lot of experience, okay? And they also help us spread the word about the minor in industry. So all these people here on the right are part of this board, and we are grateful for their participation. A couple of them are actually graduates of the minor. Hannah Evans and Timothy Hall were one of the first two graduates of the minor, and now they're part of the board. All right, so I want to talk a little about the curriculum. I'm not going to bog you down here with these details, but a lot of thought has gone into the curriculum. So basically how it works is we have a core set of classes, and those are shown here. And so these are required. There is some option though. So you take something that focus on the rheology or the fluid mechanics. And those are those first three courses. Then there's kind of a core course in friction wear and lubrication, and then organic chemistry, one of these options here. Because tribology is very reliant on chemistry. So it's kind of where chemistry and mechanical engineering meet. But then in addition to that, we have a large number of electives. So a student taking the minor could focus on different aspects of tribology, because it is a pretty broad field. You know, there's many different parts of the industry that look at different things in this area. So that this number of courses lets students focus on these different areas. We also recently created a online tribology graduate certificate. This is brand new. Okay, so all these three courses here that compose this certificate are all offered online. And so a student from industry could complete this certificate and get a little more in-depth knowledge about tribology. It's also possible to take this a little further and build a Master's of Engineering degree with a specialization in tribology. If you're interested in that, please contact me. But also be aware of this new online tribology graduate certificate program. All right, just a little bit about what I do in my classes when we teach these tribology courses. You know, there is the typical lectures and knowledge that's gained that way. We do equation solving and design problems, but we also do some experimental hands-on things to, you know, kind of build students' perception and hands-on capabilities in this area. So we do a friction test, simple friction test like this, a block on an inclined plane, which can help you do a simple measurement of static friction as an example. But there's also some more in-lab components that are more technical detail. We have some goals. You know, we hope to one day reach around 30 to 40 for the minor, 34 students. We're about half that right now. We do continue to grow. It's, you know, we recruit, tend to, I'm going to be absolutely honest, we tend to bring a lot of students in the minor, but it's hard to keep them because they have to do extra work to complete the minor. So if you're hiring students who've completed the full minor, you know that they've had a little more education to finish this minor. What's really helped is scholarships. I think if you look at the numbers in the minor, they're proportional to how many scholarships we have. So the more scholarships we have, the more students we can entice into the minor and complete it. And so that's one of the reasons we encourage people in the industry to help us sponsor these scholarships for the students. So this brings me to what I mentioned at the beginning of this, the talk. We're going to have a very exciting webinar series that starts in 2021. It's going to start on January 5th at 1 p.m. So it'll be the first Tuesday of each month at 1 p.m. Central Time. It's going to happen monthly. The first one's going to be very exciting. It's going to be on tribology on the International Space Station. The speaker's Captain Heidemarie Stefanyshyn-Piper. She's an astronaut, and she actually did repairs on the International Space Station on some gearing and bearings that help rotate the solar panels on the International Space Station. So it'll be open to everybody. I'll put a link to the flyer on this video, and it'll be free. So, you know, we will have a limit to the number of people who can participate. It'll be 300. But if you don't get in those first 300, we'll post a link to a recording of it later. But it'll be free to the public to enjoy this seminar and other seminars throughout the year. We recently had also a collection of books donated by Peter Blau, and he was at a pretty well-known research, Oak Ridge National Laboratory. He's famous in the tribology community. So we have a library now with some books he donated, and these are open for students to use at any time. So we did not get to have the Tribology Symposium this year, Career Fair. We hope to have it next year, probably be in September and October. We'll see how things go. But hopefully we'll see you on campus in 2021. It's a great event. Everybody who attends really enjoys it. So, you know, please contact me if you want more information about that. This is some pictures from the Career Fair. We have people from industry set up booths and talk to students. It's meant to help recruit students into the minor and also into the field. Some of the companies hire students into internships or permanent positions. It's a very interactive event, and I think everybody benefits who is involved. This year we created some new T-shirts for the minor. This is the back of the T-shirt. A student actually designed this before. I think it describes tribology perfectly. It's where chemistry meets engineering and the surfaces. You have chemistry and metal, maybe not always metal, but interactions between the surfaces. We also appreciate these sponsors at the bottom who helped make donations to make these T-shirts possible. And also some of these funds will go toward helping support students in the program. And so that's Bruker, Petro Canada, T Connectivity, Brook Technologies, and Biosynthetic Technologies. All right, so just talking about some of the other student activities. We usually go to conferences like the SDLE annual meeting. and bring some students. And we participate in the STEM camp there with high school students, talk about tribology. We have a number of students doing undergrad research, either doing computer modeling or hands-on experiments. We also have networking events and seminars on campus. So it's, it's a pretty active group. Here's some examples of some of the undergrad research that we've done. Some students working in the lab. It's really fun. I think students get a lot of good experience. Even if they don't do research when they go in industry, it's still hand-on experiments using machines. And I think it's very practical and helpful when they go work in industry. So we greatly appreciate industry support. I'm going to show you a list later of some of the sponsors we've had. But the way, if you're interested in getting involved, is we need help sponsoring scholarships to help motivate students to stay, take the minor and stay in the minor, to sponsor these undergraduate research projects or larger research projects in tribology. We need speakers to come to campus, or if they're unable to come to campus, we can have webinars as well. We're looking for people to help to hire our students as interns or permanent employees. And just in general, to spread the word about the program. Maybe look at other universities and try to create similar programs, or work with other tribology research or tribology focused professors at other universities. There's a lot of them out there, and they need your support. So I encourage you to do that. Yeah, these are some of our sponsors, more recent sponsors, and we greatly appreciate all their help in pushing the program forward. If you'd like to get involved, please let me know. Some more pictures of our students work in the lab, some early T-shirts they had. So I think, this is kind of the future of tribology education. I think it'll grow from here with your help. And I appreciate you listening to everything I had to say here. If you want to contact me, I'm Robert Jackson, Auburn University, professor there. I'm easy to find. If you look it up on the internet, or look up Tribology Minor on the internet, we're there. And I'll also put some links in the description of the video. And I appreciate your time, and have a good remainder of your day.